What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Shooky from Shook Earth Media, and today we are finally talking about Halo Infinite. I just beat the game, and overall I highly enjoyed it. Probably one of the best Halo campaigns since 343 existed. I don't think it doesn't top any of the originals for me. Maybe in terms of like gameplay, but story-wise, we'll get into the story a little later. We will be covering spoilers, but I will give a warning before we get to that point, so no worries there. I figure we'll just start off with the gameplay. And as far as the gameplay loop goes, the combat, the way it feels, it's very familiar, but there's new things as well. So in terms of the sequel, it does do enough to make it feel new and fresh while still maintaining what made the original so good. You still have, the two weapons, and you're constantly switching out between various weapons. The open world structure does a little bit to counteract that. I will get back to that in a bit, but the biggest addition to the gameplay, there's some new weapons, and there's a new grenade type that stuns people, and I really like that grenade type. But the biggest addition is, of course, the equipment. There's a grapple shot that you can use to swing around and navigate. It's good for traversal. It's really great for escaping attacks. So overall, I do really enjoy the grapple. It's probably the greatest single addition in Halo Infinite. And I was worried that it was going to be like multiplayer where you have to collect the grapples, you have to collect the threat sensor and all these things. It's not like that. You have to... it just respawns over time, so you just have to wait for it to come back. So I really like the equipment. I will say they have thruster as well. I didn't even touch the thruster. So the grapple is by far the most useful. There's a threat sensor, which I ended up using more later in the game. It is fairly useful, and it's a counter to they have invisible elites in this game, which it is consistent with Halo War, but one of my pet peeves in gaming is invisible enemies, so I kind of hated that aspect. But I like the threat sensor. I like using it. There's a drop wall, which isn't very useful in multiplayer, in all honesty, but in the single player, it is very useful. And it is fun when you upgrade these equipment. You can upgrade your shields and all these four equipments. And when you upgrade them to their final form, they do become a lot more useful. So I recommend absolutely, upgrading shields especially all the way. Upgrade your grapple at least a little bit. And the drop shield actually is very useful in its most upgraded form. So it all just depends on how you play, your play style. I can see some people maybe just only using the grapple and nothing else. Like I said, I didn't even touch the thruster, because the thruster to me is an escape route, and the grapple already fulfilled that need. So I didn't really find any use for it. In its fully upgraded form, it lets you turn invisible for only 4 seconds, so it gives you a bit of a cloak. So maybe you can use that to your advantage, but I didn't end up using it at all. But I really like how the equipment expanded the gameplay a little bit. It's a nice little twist on the Halo 3 equipment, which I did enjoy, but it was more useful in multiplayer than campaign. But yeah, I like the equipment. The new weapons are fun. Overall, the only problem I have with the weapons at all, in multiplayer, I have a bit more issues. Some guns that aren't very useful in multiplayer, like the Pulse Carbine, are a lot more useful here. Pulse Carbine is pretty much useless in close range, so that's why I don't particularly like using it too much. But, pretty much all the weapons are a lot more useful in single player that I have problems with in multiplayer. So I like all the new weapons. The Hydra is cool. And the sound design is incredible overall. I mean, the sound of the guns, the sound of the vehicles, the sound of the ambient atmosphere, the wildlife they have in the open world. I love all that. So sound design gets an A+ for me. The music, it doesn't add too much new to Halo music, but it is a solid rendition. It feels very big budget, and they put a lot of effort into the music. So I do like the music here, and as you guys know, Halo music, they go together. It's very important to the core of the story. So I like that. Getting into the storyline. So I will say the cutscenes, I really enjoy how they were staged. They did the God of War thing where the camera never breaks perspective, I should rephrase that. It breaks first person perspective, but it never cuts. The camera's always moving, it's circling around, and the way they stage the scenes, it very smartly takes advantage of that. The lighting effects are great. So in terms of how the cutscenes are staged, there's always that kinetic movement going on. I really like that. You know, this no cutting. It's very atmospheric. We're back in real-time cutscenes. There's only one pre-rendered cutscene at the beginning of the game. The rest of them are rendered in engine, and I at this point, you know, it's such a big preference of mine to have, you know, in-game rendered cutscenes because it's so much more seamless. It feels like less out of place. It's just you go into this cutscene and there's no break in the action, no loading screen to interrupt anything, and no break in the art style. It's seamless transition, and you know the guns you were using in the previous battle are what you take into the cutscene. So it really is a lot more immersive in that way, and I much prefer just in-game rendered cutscenes. So very good on that. The way it was staged, excellent. Overall, the performance of Master Chief it's the best Master Chief performance ever. I have always said that Master Chief is more of a container for the player than he is an actual character. And this is why it makes it hard to make a Halo movie. It's why I think they haven't made one yet. I'm curious to see how they're going to handle it in the TV show that's about to come out. But as far as Master Chief, his character is he enters a room, he kills everybody in that room, he moves on to the next room. There's not a lot of depth, and that's not a criticism, that's just a statement of fact. But this, in 343, how they portrayed Master Chief so far in 4 and 5, I felt it was a little lacking. I thought he was talking too much, he was a little out of character, he was too emotional, irrational. It was driving me a little nuts. This game does away with all of that. It's very true to the original vision of Master Chief, but at the same time, you get a deeper look into the human side of Master Chief in a way that feels genuine. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel out of character. It's powerful. He's this image of heroicism, this hope that he's trying to bring to people that feel very desperate. So I absolutely love the portrayal of Master Chief in this game. It's the best part of the story, bar none. The actor who plays him, it's the same actor since day one. He's absolutely killed it. Really love the portrayal of Master Chief in this game. As far as there's only 2 other characters really that are allies that you're interacting with on a regular basis. This guy, Echo 216, he's the pilot. He drops off vehicles to you at the open world. We'll get back to the open world once we're done with the non-spoiler story section. But he drops vehicles and weapons to you. But honestly, I like what they were trying to do with this character in the sense of he represents humanity. Humanity at this point in the story is at a very desperate point. They're at a breaking point, and he's constantly fearful, anxious, etc. And it was driving me nuts. Like, to me, he was a soldier, and I get a little bit of the anxiety, but dude, he's just complaining the entire game. All the way up until pretty much the last cutscene. Every time he chimes in, it's just a bitch at you, man. And it really got annoying. It's supposed to be endearing, I guess, but it really just, I found it a little bit overbearing. So I didn't particularly care for him at first. He did grow on me. There is this great cutscene where he kind of breaks down and Master Chief gets him to reveal the truth about him. So I really like that cutscene, and I feel like if they dialed it back just a little bit, I would like him more. But in terms of likability, it just wasn't there for me. Your mileage may vary. Maybe you identify with this, but to me, like, this is a game about nobility, about sacrifice, about heroicism. It kind of feels a little out of place to have a character like this, especially somebody who is a soldier, or he's not exactly, but you know what I'm trying to say. Then we got the weapon, and the weapon is the new AI character, And I didn't really like her at first either. The whole shtick with her is that she's like really naive at first and doesn't know what's going on. Didn't get full information when she was created, so she's a little bit bubbly, naive, childlike. I didn't particularly care for it at first. She did grow on me after a while. But again, there's a point in the game where something happens. I won't spoil, but something happens, and she's mad at you for a bit. And at that point, I was like, man, I hate her too. It did redeem itself, herself, and all that. So I did end up liking both of these characters at the end. But the majority of the game, I was annoyed by them. So that's probably not ideal for these to be your supporting cast, and I find them both annoying. Like I said, by the end of the game, I did like them both, but it took a while for me. So yeah, that's the non-spoiler part of the story. Let's just break into the open world stuff. Okay, so the open world stuff, to me, it honestly felt unnecessary. I did not find it to be the main source of entertainment in this game. I was more entertained by the missions. The missions were my favorite part. I think you'll have a better experience, honestly. Other than you need to get some upgrade points to upgrade your equipment. But if you just blow right through the missions, you'll probably enjoy this game just as much as anybody else. But it did grow on me over time because I do like that combat loop and using the vehicles, especially the flying vehicles you get towards the end if you do unlock things. It can be fun. So I like the combat enough that I was willing to do these kind of ho-hum, side quest things. But I will say, it wasn't make or break it for me. It did pad out the runtime of the game. It was about twice as long as the missions took to get all the collectibles. And, I'm obsessive compulsive by nature, so I did all the things. I did them all. And I did enjoy it, but, honestly, I was thinking towards the end I probably would have enjoyed it more if I just flew through the missions right away. And if you're worried about it, you can play all the missions and it drops you in the open world after the fact, so you don't have to finish 100% of everything if you just want to get the collectibles once you're done with the main story. So don't worry about that. It drops you back in the main world once everything's done, so you can continue to collect things and find stuff. Yeah, collectibles, it's really just you unlock more vehicles and weapons that you can get at these base fobs, they're called, that you can take over. You can get weapon drops, you can fast travel there, you can get weapons and vehicles. I already said weapon drops. But the thing with this for me is it kind of takes away from the whole gameplay loop of Halo, which I think one of the strengths of the Halo sandbox is that you have to adapt to the situation and kind of use whatever's around you. I found myself in previous Halo games to this pretty much just using every weapon at various points. I just have to, you're running out of ammo, you gotta constantly pick things up. This game, it kind of counteracts that by giving you these fobs and stuff. Like I played through most of the game, most of the open world sections with just the battle rifle and either a sniper or a shotgun. And that was how I played through. And honestly, it felt like it was taking away from the main combat loop of the game. And it felt like I didn't think it was necessarily the best move. Because it does take away. I mean, you have to give you something in this open world to unlock, so I can get, especially the vehicles are fun. So I'm not going to complain about vehicle drops, but the weapon drops, it just felt like it took away from the core gameplay loop of Halo. So honestly, the open world stuff, I could give or take it. I honestly probably would have preferred if we just had some more missions. Like there aren't enough missions in this game to be like satisfying in and of themselves. But if there was a little bit more missions and more variety in the missions, I think just a straightforward game probably would have been better for me personally. But a lot of people like the open world stuff, so your mileage may vary. Again, I didn't particularly dislike anything, but I do prefer linear games in general. So, but yeah, let's just get into the spoiler section, guys. So for everybody, I recommend this game. I don't know I'd recommend you pay $60 for it, but you can get it on Game Pass. You can play through it that way, so you don't have to pay for that. So that's what I recommend, and if you're signing off now, thanks for watching. Peace out, everybody. So let's just get right into the spoilers. So there's not a whole lot to spoil. The weapon being Cortana to me was obvious, and that was the whole thing with the rampancy storyline. I was just thinking the whole time, like, can't you just make another Cortana based on how you made Cortana originally? Like, I never really understood the whole big deal with the rampancy storyline. It was never something that really worked for me from a science fiction standpoint. From a, human storytelling standpoint, I can understand, having a character death and stuff like that. But yeah, so I will say, Cortana being the villain and using the Guardians, all of that, the big reveal about how she threatened Earth, about how she destroyed the banished homeworld. I like all of that. I do wish we got to see more of it. We kind of just learned about it, through exposition, which is fine. But I will say that I really wish that, we got to see the transition. She made a decision to self-sacrifice herself at the end, and I'm not sure I really understand why. What led her to change her mind? I'm not sure I really understand why she all of a sudden is trying to help Master Chief and all of that. Or I don't even understand why she was going after the Banished. There's a lot of unanswered questions. And with the Banished, I mean, I'm sure there's other films and novels and etc. I've only played the games and read some of the novels, so I'm going to have to, defer to experts in Halo stuff. But I don't understand what the Banished are motivated by. I don't know why they hate humanity so much. I don't know what they're looking for on this ring. And that's the thing, is like, we learned so much. We were hinted at so much about the ring and why this particular Halo ring is different, and it's more dangerous than the Flood. It's more dangerous than anything so far. We didn't even get to see what that is, unless it's hinted at and I didn't realize it. The only thing that I noticed was, it's a new, even more ancient race than the Forerunners. And that, to me, I don't know, it just feels a little silly to me. The Forerunners didn't play into this story at all, which I found a little interesting. I could have used a little bit more enemy variety, so I wouldn't have minded having the Forerunner enemies in there. I like the enemy design from Halo 4. The storyline, not so much, but, they're in the universe at this point. I don't see why not to use them. But, at the end of the day, I did enjoy this game quite a bit. But yeah, I would have liked to learn more about, what is the point of Zeta Halo? Did I miss it? I don't know what is it? It's containing this ancient race? Why are they dangerous? I want to know more about that. We only got like little hints of it. So, at the end of the day, I'm kind of confused. Yeah, so I felt like I missed something, So yeah, the storyline overall, it's entertaining. Gameplay-wise, I forgot to say this earlier, I hate the boss battles. It's just bullet sponge enemies that move faster than you and can melee you, instant kill. And the sword and gravity hammer is like useless when you pick it up, at least on the difficulty I was playing on. So I hated that. It's like one hit kill against you, but if you use it against anything else, it's 2 or 3 hits. So that kind of annoyed me. But yeah, so overall, I like this game. The storyline, it's just okay. But the portrayal Master Chief, and I do like, how humanity is really desperate and all of that. There's so many questions that I had that were unanswered. So that's my review of Halo Infinite, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, if you agree or disagree, or if you think I missed something, or if you want to discuss whatever. We might do a multiplayer game. I love the multiplayer. Technically speaking, this game, it ran fairly well. It crashed on me a lot. So it crashes on me a couple times a session, especially in the multiplayer. So that's probably the biggest frustration for me. Now, I don't have the most top-of-the-line computer or anything like that, but it's more than enough that I shouldn't be having this many crashes. So there is some issues there. But, at the end of the day, it's a really fun game. If you're a Halo fan, you gotta check it out. I recommend it on Game Pass, and the multiplayer is free to play. So if you want to just check out the multiplayer, now is a great time. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope to see you on the next video. Hit the sub if you like this review. Hit that like button as well, and comment and all that, and I hope to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Peace out, everybody. Have a good one.